Are we ready to say goodbye to 1997? Are you ready, New York City? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5.
1998, the year of Godzilla.
The year I remember the most from my childhood. Every event, every song, and every movie were forever ingrained in my brain. Favorite track from 1998? There's probably a tie between Fatboy Slim's Rockefeller Skank and the New Radicals' You Get What You Give. My mom and I traveled to the United States in January for a month-long vacation, staying with close family friends in Florida. We went to Magic Kingdom, Universal Studios, and MGM. Animal Kingdom and Islands of Adventure were announced everywhere. The day we arrived in Miami, the Chicago Bulls were playing the Heat. I was asked by our host if I wanted to go to the arena and watch the game. Because they had a welcome dinner for us, I said no out of courtesy. But trust me, my 10-year-old self wanted to be there. Our host had military clearance, so there was a good chance of getting close to the Bulls. Such is life, right? I almost got to see my childhood hero. This US trip was memorable. We went to Cape Canaveral, the 7-mile bridge to Key West, and went window shopping for expensive Air Jordans at Foot Locker. I still remember the food, the malls, the animatronics show at Rainforest Cafe, and the biscuits at Red Lobster. Back in my country, I was just another kid enjoying the 90s through Micro Machines, Legos, and Nickelodeon. One afternoon I visited childhood friend number 2. A song came on MTV and the drums sounded massive. It was the new Puff Daddy video for Godzilla. We were dying to watch the movie and this track just added wood to the fire. It was at this very moment that I saw Jimmy Page for the first time in my life. He looked like one of my teachers from school. I picked up his name from the video credits. Our friend and I knew Puff Daddy from his 1996 hit, which we had no idea it was sampled from Every Breath You Take by The Police. The hypnotic tune with an orchestra by the name of Come With Me became the Godzilla theme song. Every time I heard it coming on the radio, I went nuts. The middle section was a cinematic experience and the ending was an explosion of aggressive orchestral works. The movie itself was somewhat underwhelming, but the marketing was everywhere. And I learned that Madison Square Garden was the nest for 200 Godzilla eggs. Childhood friend number 1 got the soundtrack album and of course I burned a CDR copy of it. The Wallflowers' exquisite cover of Heroes and Jamiroquai's Deeper Underground had heavy rotation on her physical media playlist, next to her favorite, Come With Me. I read the CD liner notes and I saw writing credits for Jimmy Page, John Bonham, Mark Curry, Robert Plant, and Sean Combs. I recognized Page from the video and knew Sean Combs as Puff Daddy. The others didn't ring a bell. I went to the movie theater in June for Small Soldiers, a sort of darker version of Toy Story, and there was a really good song in a particular scene with dolls. Because I didn't sit through the end credits, it took me many years to find out it was Communication Breakdown by Led Zeppelin. Fast forward 2002, I was at childhood friend number 1's house premiering my latest CD purchase, Latter Days Volume 2. First 4 songs were great, but then track 5, Kashmir, came in. My friend and I looked at each other like two shocked only child teenagers. We yelled at each other, "Dude, it's the song from Godzilla!" But in Spanish it was of course, "Ma, esta es la canción de Godzilla!" My hamster wheel brain was going at full speed. I got my friend's Godzilla CD to compare the writing credits to Latter Days. I was speechless. We played the enhanced Latter Days CD on the computer. It had an ill-scored video montage to the sound of the studio cut for Kashmir. It was much slower and longer than Come With Me. I liked it of course, but deep down I missed the thrill of the Godzilla soundtrack stuff. Years later I found out that hardcore Zeppelin fans hated this collaboration to the point of heresy. Kashmir suppressed an underlying truth that I'm no longer ashamed to admit. Come With Me is my favorite version. And yes, this is my personal opinion of course. Puff Daddy and Jimmy Page was a strange pairing that sold 2 million copies of this 1988 hit single. Both Led Zeppelin and Godzilla visited Madison Square Garden to cement their legacy for years to come. A controversial crossover of rap and classic rock. A legendary guitar riff was a secret weapon against a reptilian monster. This is the making of Puff Daddy and Jimmy Page. Come With Me.
Also, thank you, my friends, for finally remembering my phone number. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Was the exclusion of John Paul Jones an obvious sort of...
Shut up. No. An obvious. Oh, it don't matter. It's just that Jonesy was busy and we're busy.
One night I was sleeping, it was like 4 in the morning, and I sleep with the TV on, and I hear this commercial for Led Zeppelin's greatest hits, and I hear dun 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 dun.
Thursday, February 12th, 1998. Page and Plant's Walking Into Everywhere tour was 9 days away from beginning with a batch of 10 European shows. Jimmy got a phone call from Sean Combs, aka Puff Daddy. Mr. Combs told Page he was asked to do a song for the upcoming Godzilla movie. In the footsteps of the Beastie Boys sampling Led Zeppelin tracks, Combs had Kashmir's riff on his mind. Now let's talk about Kashmir for a second. The riff itself has a slight James Bond vibe, which makes it quite a fitting piece of music for a soundtrack. Kashmir made its Hollywood debut on the 1982 movie Fast Times at Ridgemont High, in which the protagonist gets advised to play side 1 of Led Zeppelin 4. He obviously played the wrong album, as Kashmir is side B from Physical Graffiti. Maybe his date would have been different to the sound of Black Dog, Rock and Roll, The Battle of Evermore, and Stairway to Heaven. Puff Daddy was notorious for his use of samples such as the 1997 hit I'll Be Missing You. This time around he wanted Page to play on the actual track as well as work out special arrangements that matched Godzilla's big budget production scale. This went beyond using a studio recording for a soundtrack. Similar to Kashmir 1994 and Hossam Ramsey, Come With Me reimagined the Led Zeppelin classic into its own special universe. Jimmy Page found extra motivation in working out a musical piece that his son James Patrick, who was almost 10 years old by then, could relate to. Page had performed Kashmir a total of 119 times after Zeppelin's demise in 1980. Come With Me was the first and only time he played the riff until 2007's reunion show at the O2 Arena, London. Because of Jimmy's tight agenda, a studio session took place on February 14th at CTS Studios, London. The recording process was done via satellite and had MTV conducting an interview with both artists, with Puff Daddy in Los Angeles and Jimmy Page in England. With Jimmy's signature riff on tape, it was time to complete the rest of the puzzle. First off, let's talk about the mighty orchestral arrangement. The man behind it was none other than British composer, arranger, pianist, and music producer Jeremy Lubbock. His musical resume is filled with hundreds of recording credits, including string conductor for Michael Jackson's Billie Jean and Chicago's Hard to Say I'm Sorry. He was also the arranger for the 1984 Olympics, composer for The Color Purple, string arranger for The Bodyguard, Rod Stewart's Unplugged, Tony Braxton's Secrets, and many, many more. With such expertise as orchestrator, it's no surprise the strings for Come With Me are carefully constructed. The instrumental track for the song further reveals his masterful approach in reimagining John Paul Jones's original arrangement on Kashmir. Aggressive counterpoint plus a showcase of dynamics and harmony, Jeremy Lubbock is the unsung hero from this 1998 track next to drummer Mario Winans, whose savage drum groove created the signature sound for its worldwide success. Singer, songwriter, producer, and drummer, Mario Winans is the son of a pastor couple from South Carolina. He came from an American gospel family of musicians. His mother, Vicky Winans, remarried soul singer Marvin Winans in 1978, thus Mario took his last name. His drumming work was first featured on his mom's album from 1989 by the name of Total Victory. Mary continued to record religious material throughout the 90s as well as stints with R. Kelly and 98 Degrees, which allowed him to branch out into new ventures, thus meeting Sean Combs for the Bad Boy Greatest Hits Volume 1 project. Mary Winans was credited as composer, producer, and background vocals. Executive producer Puff Daddy took note of his talents. Mario's drum parts on Come With Me took John Bonham's original groove into a modern gospel drumming style that is nowadays quite popular in Christian music. His use of hi-hat accents on the 2 and 4 revitalized the song with added movement through tom-tom fills and tight bass drum work.
I always had a dream of working with an orchestra. It was like an opera, and it just keeps rising and rising and rising. Then you have your tragic moment in the middle. Then all of a sudden...
Well, there's Bambi and Godzilla, sort of, it's a little cartoon, and Godzilla comes storming through the forest and just treads on Bambi, you know.
Unlike Kashmir, Come With Me features a soft middle section comprised of a Genesis-inspired guitar chord movement against a static bass line. Additional guitar layers and bass were played by none other than Rage Against the Machine's Tom Morello. The band had 2 albums by then, and their heavy riff attack and groove with Zach De La Rocha's angry vocals made them a household name for the 90s. Paul Logus was credited for engineering, mixing, and cymbals. This means extra cymbal hits were recorded for the song. Logus probably met Puff Daddy as an engineer for the Notorious B.I.G. album from 1997, Life After Death. Puff Daddy was the executive producer. Logus was also known for his mastering work with Anthrax. He met drummer Mario Winans during the sessions for 98 Degrees' first album from 1997. Jeffrey J. De Walker provided additional keyboard parts for the song. His work is most associated with R&B, including composer for one of Aaliyah's songs from her 3rd and final album.
I got a call from someone at the record company who it was basically like a 5-word message. Puff Daddy, Jimmy Page, Kashmir, the name of the studio, at 5 p.m.
This is so important. They're holding Chicago to 1 shot. This is one of the top offensive rebounding teams in the league.
Bulls lead by 7, and Michael Jordan going baseline with a great move inside, and Jordan now leading the Bulls with 10 points.
May 9th, 1998. Puff Daddy and Jimmy Page performed their hit single on Saturday Night Live, hosted by the X-Files' own David Duchovny, or should I say Duke Ovny. Page used his red Trans-Performance guitar next to a 4-piece band, plus a symphonic orchestra and horn section. Robert Plant performed on this same stage in 1984. It was long overdue having Jimmy here. SNL was a big part of my childhood, so this was an epic moment to say the least. Having the guy from the X-Files as host was very cool. Who wasn't a fan of that show back then, right? The truth is out there. The 1998 cast was very good and managed to capture some of the magic from the unbeatable 1986 to 1994 era, with my favorite cast member being Norm Macdonald. I would put Phil Hartman in second place. Quite a tragedy what happened to him. I'm not sure if watching SNL was a healthy thing for a kid, but it shaped my sarcasm, passion for political humor, and random comments. This definitely got me into trouble in school.
Discover Garden Burger. All natural, really tasty, end of story. Because eating good just got great.
It can be like getting an extra 10 feet of road when you need it most. Show you can stop an average of 10 feet sooner. Monroe sends a track, making the road a safer place.
Godzilla the album was released on May 19th, 1998, just 1 day before the official movie release, and the same day Page and Plant kicked off their North American tour in Pensacola. Yes, this is the same venue where their 1995 tour began. The timing was great for the marketing of Jimmy Page as a brand. Come With Me was officially released as a single on June 9th, just as Page and Plant were 14 dates into their tour, more specifically, Market Square Arena, Indianapolis. Contrary to Walking into Clarksdale, Come With Me sold 2 million copies. The music video was directed by Howard Greenhalgh, whose videography included Black Hole Sun, 2 disgusting Meatloaf songs from his 1995 7th studio album, The Spice Girls' Too Much, and Genesis Congo from their infamous Calling All Stations album, to name a few. The video starts with Puff Daddy daydreaming in his apartment when he wakes up by Godzilla's footsteps. He turns into the news only to watch the monster crush the wall. It seems the apartment was located on the famous Flatiron Building in Manhattan, which is close to Madison Square Garden, which Godzilla destroyed and Page and Plant performed on July 16, 1998. Jimmy comes up on a screen in Times Square. This was shot at CTA Studios London in February. Puff Daddy gets thrown into an elevator that starts on the lobby floor. This doesn't make sense as we could clearly see he was at least 10 stories high. As he raps to the camera, the elevator flies into the sky after the 90th floor. A set of white doves appear on screen reminiscent of the song Remains the Same. Puff Daddy falls in slow motion, arriving in Times Square for the song's finale, with more brief video screen appearances by Jimmy Page. Come With Me was heavily criticized by Zeppelin fans, calling out Jimmy's collaboration as disrespectful to their legacy. Because Page and Plant did not perform Kashmir on their 1998 tour, it must have been strange for fans to be bombarded by Godzilla's aggressive marketing and not hearing the original song on stage. It was a bold and brave move by Jimmy to participate in a genre crossover like this. Where Plant had been applauded for his excursions into world music, Page had a chance of collaborating outside his comfort. Yes, it was the same riff, but it was a different intention. A closer look at the song's lyrics makes me think this was a jab at another human being rather than Godzilla. We can also think of a codependent relationship with trauma bonding as the emotional conductor. With the way the Page and Plant collaboration ended, I find Come With Me quite fitting and ironic. It's the perfect soundtrack for them parting ways. Check out the lyrics and tell me this is not something both Page and Plant could sing to each other. Puff Daddy battled his way against Trent Reznor on Celebrity Deathmatch. Episode 8 of Season 1 aired on August 13th, 1998. I loved this MTV show as a kid. It was funny that Puff Daddy used all vinyl records to attack Reznor. Quite a critique at him sampling other people's music. In the end, both Puff Daddy and Reznor killed each other, with referee Mills Lane putting the pieces together with parts from both musicians. And just because this is a running gag on the YouTube channel, Meatloaf was featured on Season 4, Episode 5 in a match against Korn's own Jonathan Davis. Also, fun fact, Meatloaf was the bus driver on the Spice Girls movie. Quite a coincidence, right? Final numbers for the Godzilla soundtrack had the album at 1.5 million units sold, just 100,000 more than Marilyn Manson's Mechanical Animals. I really liked the Dope Show from that album. The soundtrack also sold 1 million less than Black Hair Shakira's Donde Están los Ladrones. I believe Shakira's Black Hair period albums are her best in terms of songwriting. Once she went blonde, things changed. As an album, the Godzilla soundtrack was quite uneven. Besides the hits by Wallflowers, Puff and Page, Jamiroquai, and Rage Against the Machine, it was a strange collection of songs that failed to capture the movie's motif. This was a reflection of how record labels struggled back then to determine what the current state of rock and roll was. A sort of limbo phase after grunge right before nu metal seems to be no man's land. Many tracks were produced and mixed by Brendan O'Brien, a man who engineered records such as Shake Your Moneymaker, Temple of the Dog, and Blood Sugar Sex Magic. He also produced Rage Against the Machine's Evil Empire and Korn's Issues, a record I really like. So back to the Godzilla soundtrack. Ben Folds 5 Air did not fit the action movie at all. I hate this song. Running Knees by Days of the New has a sort of When the Levee Breaks thing going on, but it sounds like the theme song for a Breaking Bad type of show. Macy Day Parade by Michael Penn sounds like something from Walking into Clarksdale. Go check it out, and you decide if that's a compliment. Walk the Sky by Fuel has a catchy post-grunge vibration that works. It also features a great guitar solo. The Foo Fighters A320 starts off drowsy but manages to evoke some of the Kashmir style towards the end. But again, just some of the style of Kashmir. It's not up to that level, of course. Green Day's Brain Stew employs a similar riff to Zeppelin's Babe I'm Gonna Leave You and Chicago's 25 or 64. It's a powerful song that I'm almost sure inspired Papa Roach's Last Resort. Silverchair's Untitled has a similar effect to the Foo Fighters track. It starts off slow, then bursts into heavy guitar crunchness. Fuzzbuzzles Out There is very much a theme song for a 90s show that never happened. Undercover by Joey Deluxe sounds like a beverage commercial from that era, something like a poor man's J.J. Cale. The album features 2 symphonic compositions from the movie by David Arnold. Opening Titles feels like, well, opening titles, but I have to say, it doesn't sound like Godzilla, but more like a parody of a James Bond movie. David Arnold did the music for 1997's Tomorrow Never Dies, as well as releasing a James Bond tribute album that same year. His relationship with the franchise didn't stop there. Arnold worked on The World Is Not Enough, Die Another Day, Casino Royale, and Quantum of Solace. Last song on the album is Looking for Clues, which makes heavy use of fantasy themes and soft orchestral textures. This works better for a Disney type of film, not Godzilla. Now my favorite Godzilla-inspired song remains Godzilla by Blue Oyster Cult. Great song. Page and Puff Daddy reunited for one last performance of Come With Me on October 9th, 1999 at Giant Stadium. The benefit concert was one of several events organized by Net Aid. Look at the artist lineup there, a lot of crows. The Black Crows, Counting Crows, and Sheryl Crow. I will revisit the rest of Page's performance here for the post-Zeppelin episode of 1999. Fast forward 2019, I was on a business trip in the United States. While we stayed in Pittsburgh, we did a short visit down to St. Louis, Missouri. My co-workers and I took turns playing songs via Bluetooth. My double-faced former boss drove the car. It was crazy hot in St. Louis. I was next, and my pick was Come With Me. My boss screamed, "That's the song from Godzilla." I looked at him and said, "Yeah man, that's the song from the movie." Just as the song was over, I caught into Led Zeppelin's Kashmir as we were moving through St. Louis. Shocked to say the least, nobody in the car knew the original, so I went JCM documentary on them, of course. I also told them St. Louis, Missouri was a potential target in the case of nuclear war because they had nuclear weapons there. My coworkers got scared and they asked me, "Why can't you be normal, JCM?" That's what happens when you listen to Led Zeppelin, I guess. So guys, I decided to end this episode with a special mashup I made of Robert Plant's isolated vocals for Kashmir on top of the instrumental track for Come With Me. I hope you enjoyed this alternate universe of Plant, Puff, and Page. And of course, stay tuned for the next episode of the post-Led Zeppelin 1990 series. Thank you for watching. Sit back and enjoy. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Turns to brown as the sun burns the ground. Where I be? Nobody will move into Kashmir. Turns to brown as the sun burns the ground.